Well, first, I want to thank you for coming to my office for the interview instead of me having to go to the studio. It's so much more convenient. I've got an astounding story here to tell, Jim. It's just, it happened to me, and it happened to my family. And my family and I are still astounded by what it was that happened. Now, the whole story is in this book, which we'll show you how to purchase later on, but if you want an audio on how to purchase it, it's at lulu.com, and it's called I Fired My Doctors and Saved My Life. Now, how in the world did this astounding story start? Well, I've always been one of those fellows that never thought I had a weak spot. Some people teased me. I even have a Superman t-shirt that I used to wear. And I'm an ex-athlete, ex-military, a whole bunch of those things that qualify me for the Real Guy Club. And what happened is that I was having trouble sleeping. And the reason I was having trouble sleeping was that when I laid down, I couldn't catch my breath. I was okay upright, and I thought it was something wrong with my lungs. Even though I didn't smoke, I thought there was something wrong with my lungs. I called a doctor friend of mine, a former trauma surgeon in Vietnam who's also a veteran, and he's probably the only doctor in the world I actually trusted. And I called him and I told him what my symptoms were, and he said, "I'll meet you at the emergency room with my cardiologist, and don't give me any crap about it." Whoa! That just really got my attention right away. And if you thought my attention was piqued by what it was he had to say, when they got done doing the diagnostic routine on me, basically what they said was, "We're not going to put in some stents." I don't know if you know what stents are, but that's the first thing they do with a heart problem, is they put in a way to get more blood to your heart, and it's basically not much more than an in-office procedure. And they said, "We're not going to do any stents. We're not going to do bypass surgery." That's where they take arteries from a different part of your body, put it into your heart in order to make your heart work better. They said, "No, we're not going to do bypass surgery. Mr. Sewell, you need a heart transplant. That is the most significant procedure that you can possibly think of, besides costing $500,000. It was a really tremendous shock to myself, my family, my wife. We absorbed that diagnosis and swallowed hard and said, "Well, okay." They said, "Well, we can't treat you here in the local hospital. We're going to have to send you to Tampa, because we don't do heart transplants here at the local hospital. They do heart transplants at Tampa General." And so we jump in the car and we run up to Tampa General and essentially find out all of the horrible things there are to find out about what it takes to do a heart transplant. How do you get ready for it? What's it actually like? If you manage to get off the operating table alive, what's your quality of life going to be like? Those kinds of things. We started adjusting to the reality of this new diagnosis. And my wife, typically she provides leadership for the family in a lot of ways. She said, "Are you sure that we want to go ahead with a heart transplant? Aren't there some alternatives?" Well, I asked the doctors, I said, "Is there any way to reverse heart disease?" No, reverse heart disease cannot happen. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump all the way to the end of the book and then fill in a few pieces in between. Back 4 months ago, we did the entire diagnostic series over again. They had originally scheduled to put in one single stent. And then they canceled the procedure, saying, "No, that would be unnecessary. You don't even need a stent." So I went from needing a heart transplant to having a procedure for putting in a single stent canceled in 2 years' time. And that was accomplished without drugs or surgery. Now that's what I mean by an astounding story. When I tell people that I went from needing a heart transplant to not even needing a stent and being able to walk 4 miles a day and essentially resume my normal life, and I did that in 2 years' time, they themselves are astounded. How in the world could that have happened? And so in between the pages of this book, I Fired My Doctors and Saved My Life, is the story of how that was accomplished. And that's what's astounding about it.